The issue begins with a convenience store being robbed by a veteran of the Wreath Army. As the clerk begs for his life, Marco takes note of the situation and attempts to talk the former soldier down. But the situation soon turns violent and the robber is badly beaten and knocked unconscious. Marco's companions arrive and Prince Robot 4 insists on killing the veteran, who has seen his associate's face, but Marco won't have any killing. The prince chastises his allies, saying if they think they are going to get their children back without having to kill, they are in for a very rude awakening. Far away in a frozen wasteland, a group called the Last Revolution arrives. The young Hazel is delighted at the idea of making new friends, but her mother Alana and grandmother Clara are terrified of their new visitors. The two women know of the revolutionaries by their reputation as terrorists who slaughter civilians to further their agenda, and are so worried about these newcomers that Clara threatens to break her own granddaughter's neck rather than hand the child over to these monsters. But their captor Dango is unmoved by these pleas, and is certain that the revolution can make use of the young Hazel and Prince Robot 4's baby. Alana tries to appeal to Dango's past as a parent who lost his only son to war. She calls him a decent man who has yet to harm her daughter, but warns the former janitor that the last revolution will have no issue with putting Hazel and the baby robot in danger. This nearly works and convinces Dango, but he says it is too late. The die has already been cast, and it's time to greet their new guests. Meanwhile, the Brand, her dog Sweet Boy, Gwendolyn, Sophie, and the Lion Cat are all trying to get a cure from a male dragon for their friend, a bounty hunter known as the Will. However, an entire family of dragons is overwhelming the group. In an act of desperation, Sophie has Gwen activate her translation pendant. The Horned Mage reluctantly agrees to do so, assuming that the dragons will not be intelligent enough to speak. But this proves to be surprisingly successful. Sophie apologizes to the dragons, and the massive beasts stop their attack. They explain that all but one of the males of their species are dead. The last male is on a nearby mountain. As the group gets ready to set out, they are watched by an unknown person of the same arachnid race as the Will's former lover and fellow bounty hunter. Back on Robot 4's ship, Marco is drowning in his own sorrow. He regrets having lashed out at his wife earlier, and is frustrated at having to break his vow of pacifism time and time again. The man soon turns on Yuma when he realizes she is high, and Alana's former dealer explains that she found the drugs on the robber earlier. Yuma swears that most veterans of war turn to drugs. She never pushed these on Alana, and that Marco's wife came to Yuma, desperately seeking feelings of peace through these illicit substances. In the frozen wasteland, the Last Revolution greets Dango and his captors. Their leader is a snake-like person named Quain, who quickly uses magic to put Dango's captives to sleep. The revolutionaries confirm that Hazel is indeed a genuine child of both Reef and Lanfalian parents, and that the baby is indeed part of the royal family of robots. Realizing that Dango killed the princess robot, Quain embraces the former janitor and says that together they are going to do wonderful things. Regretfully, Hazel's captor realizes for the first time that Alana may have been right, and that calling the revolution may have been a mistake. Robot 4 comes home, where his wife is alive and well. As she begins to give him oral sex, the princess soon shows signs of gruesome damage, and the prince wakes up, realizing it was all a terrible dream. As he wanders the ship, it does not take long for the robot to find Marco on the floor, drugged out of his mind. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and this is my recap and review of Saga number 26. You know, in the past, I've decried some comics as being filler. These are comics lacking meaningful substance that just kind of move the plot along and lack any meaningful content on their own. Rarely do I enjoy filler comics, as they often feel like a waste of time and money. At first glance, This is very much a filler comic. There isn't much of significance in this issue's story, and the plot is largely just being shuffled along. But a closer look at this comic reveals some very important, although somewhat subtle developments in this story. As per standard storytelling in Saga, we see a lot in this comic that shows us that Dengo isn't just an unrepentant villain and actually does want to protect the children. He understands what it means to be a parent and is starting to regret some of his actions. This lack of a pure antagonist or pure protagonist is common to Saga and something I really like about the storytelling. Again, these characters feel more like people than, well, characters. Marco also taking drugs and the effect this will have on the story is also likely to shape things to come. The story hints quite clearly that Marco will be separated from his family for some time, so this change in character is likely to have some very long-term effects on Hazel's father. I also like the storyline for another aspect common to Saga. In spite of this fantastical setting with some truly conceptual characters and ideas, this series remains robustly grounded in the real-world issues and problems that it focuses on. War and its effects on veterans is all too important in the modern day, and very much applies to real life. And Saga is able to confront these ideas head-on. We see a lot of this throughout the story. The difficult relationship between press and power, the cost and characteristics of modern warfare, the power of ideas, and even the subjective nature behind labeling somebody a terrorist. You have to look past the story of Saga to see these larger ideas at play, and it's something that I really enjoy about this comic. So this story is deceptively important to the plot, and like the rest of the Saga comics, has a lot to say about the real world too. This is therefore a comic that I don't think should be missed. The art is once again really phenomenal and memorable. Fiona Staples is simply one of the best artists out there, and this comic is no exception. Once again, I find myself really unable to meaningfully criticize Saga. I will say that this isn't the biggest issue of this story out there, and in fact it might be one of the least remarkable of the Saga comics. But I think that mostly has to do with the fact that Saga is such a consistently good series that some comics are going to look worse than others in order to properly pace out the story, something that Saga typically does really well. I recommend you check out this comic for yourself. Number 26 isn't the world's greatest comic, but it's an important one and something that promises to deliver some truly great moments in the future. This remains one of the best stories and features some of the best art available in comic form, so you should really check out Saga when you have the opportunity. Let me know what you think of number 26 in the comments section. We also have a website you can visit, a Facebook page you can like, and a Twitter account you can follow. And finally, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.